Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's usually a delay, but I think I hit all the right buttons. Just give it. I just want to make sure I see it on YouTube and then. Okay, you're live. Slide.
Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this public hearing pursuant to Section 859-A of the General Municipal Law. This is the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency, and the project beneficiary is Highland 3555 LLC. The hearing date is today, February 5th. It is approximately 5:39 p.m. We were running a little behind because of traffic. We apologize. The hearing location is here at the Town of Lloyd Hall, located at 12 Church Street in the Town of Lloyd, Ulster County, New York. So good evening. My name is Michael Ham, and I am the chairperson for the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency. I'm also the hearing officer for tonight's public hearing being held in connection with the project, which is the subject of this public hearing. At this time, can I ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I would like to now highlight the mission of the agency. So the mission statement of this agency is as follows. The mission statement of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency is to advance the job opportunities, general prosperity, and long-term economic vitality of Ulster County residents by targeting tax incentives, bonds, and other assistance to foster the creation and attraction of new business and the retention and expansion of existing business. At this time, I'd also like to introduce a couple of people from our staff. To the left of me is Council Shannon Wagner for the IDA. To the right of me is Joe Ferrara, board member. Our executive director, Hillary.
Just Hillary.
No, I'm Hillary Nichols. No, I'm sorry. I was just looking. I think it's in my thing here. Just so everybody knows, tonight we do have a stenographer here, so we are putting this on the record. Okay. So with that, today we are holding a public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with the project for the benefits of Highland 3555 LLC, a New York limited liability company. I would like to note that as required by New York state law, the agency is live streaming this public hearing. We have also made arrangements for the stenographer to be present in order to accurately make a record for the public comments received at this public hearing. Shannon Wagner of Hotchkin Russ LLP is counsel to the agency. She will provide the information on the agency's legal authority to hold this public hearing, a description of the proposed project, the purpose of this public hearing, and the agency's next steps. Once Shannon is finished, I will then open up the public hearing for comments. Counsel?
Thank you, Chair. Legal authorization and powers of the agency. The provisions of Chapter 1030 of the Laws of 1969 of New York, constituting Title I of Article 18-A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York as amended, and Chapter 787 of the 1976 Laws of the State of New York as amended, codified as Section 923 of said General Municipal Law, collectively the Act, authorize the agency to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, improving, maintaining, and equipping and furnishing of manufacturing, warehousing, research, commercial, and industrial facilities, among others. The proposed project consists of the following. A1, the acquisition of an interest in a parcel of land containing approximately 4.5 acres and located at 3555 Route 9W in the town of Lloyd, Ulster County, New York. Collectively the land, together with an existing building located thereon, the existing facility. 2, the demolition of the existing facility. 3, the construction on the land of a mixed-use facility to contain approximately 234,000 square feet of space and to include but not be limited to market rate apartment units, affordable housing units, and approximately 10,000 square feet of commercial space, the facility. And 3, the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of certain machinery, equipment, and other personal property, collectively the equipment, all of this collectively being referred to as the project facility. All of the foregoing to be owned and operated by the company or an affiliate thereof as a mixed-use facility and other directly and indirectly related activities. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 854(14) of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, and mortgage recording taxes, collectively the financial assistance, and C, the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. Pursuant to Section 859-A2 of the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance of more than $100,000 to the project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859-A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing the financial assistance, the agency must hold this public hearing on the nature and location of the project facility and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. After consideration of the application submitted to the agency by the company, the members of the agency adopted a resolution on December 17, 2025, authorizing the executive director of the agency to conduct this public hearing with respect to the proposed project. The certified public hearing resolution was sent to the affected tax jurisdictions on January 21, 2026. The executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be mailed on January 21, 2026, to the chief executive officers of the affected tax jurisdictions, including Ulster County, the town of Lloyd, and the Highland Central School District, and published on January 23, 2026, in the Daily Freeman, a newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the town of Lloyd, Ulster County, New York. In addition, the executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be posted on January 22, 2026, on the agency's website, and on January 23, 2026, on a public bulletin board located at the Town of Lloyd Town Hall at 12 Church Street in the Town of Lloyd. Copies of the notice of this public hearing are available at the table at the front of the room. The purpose of this public hearing is to solicit input with respect to the proposed project. We are not here to answer questions, although in the course of the hearing we will consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. Now, unless there's any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of this public hearing and instead request that the full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record. The agency will consider the proposed project at a subsequent meeting of the agency, currently scheduled for February 18, 2026 at 9 a.m. Such meeting, like all meetings of the agency, will be open to the general public. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Hillary Nichols, the executive director. At this time, the agency has received one written comment. The public comment period for written comments will remain open until the close of business on Monday, February 16, 2026. I will now return the floor to the chair for purpose of recognizing any citizens in attendance wishing to make a public comment.
Thank you, Shannon. At this time, we'll begin with remarks from the representatives of the affected taxing jurisdiction. That would be including the county, the town, or school district officials. Is there anybody in attendance from the affected taxing jurisdiction?
So,
County, school,
town.
Town.
My name is Mike Petty, town council person for the town of Lloyd. I have some concerns about this project. Not necessarily with the project itself, but with, the fact that we're gonna provide tax abatement for a project that's pretty much already approved by our planning board. Phase 1, phase 2 are already completed, and they're scheduled to start work in April. Whether you provide tax relief to them or not, this project will go through. We're looking at a loss of between $6 and $8 million in tax revenues over 10 years. Our town can't afford that. We're adding 149 units to a already stressed infrastructure of ancient water and sewer lines. And since October, we've had 5 water main breaks in our town. And now we're gonna add another development, while taking away tax dollars to make any reasonable or manageable repairs to those services. So, I would appreciate it if the IDA would consider those items and not grant tax relief to this project, as I believe, and I'm pretty confident in my position, that if they do not receive tax abatement, they will still continue to go through this project. The other part of this is, we're offering a very limited amount of affordable housing units, which are the prices for these apartments are well above what the normal going rate is for our community. These, apartments are not for the residents of the town of Lloyd. They're for people that are commuting, and looking to move, into this location. And without those taxes, we are not going to benefit as a community, in a meaningful way. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the affecting taxing jurisdiction? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public comment then.
There's a few more people that came in. Getting started.
Our people they're not here, are they?
They are waiting for Moran, so just move that last.
Let me get this together. Okay, I'll now open the public hearing to the public. It is 5:50 p.m. Okay. By the way of operating rules, if you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand. I will call on you. Actually, I'm going to go through this list the way you signed up, okay? Please wait to be recognized. Once you're recognized, please stand, state your name and your address for the record. When you're speaking, please address your comments to the members of the board, which is the front of the room, and keep your comments to 3 minutes. I'll be fumbling with my phone here, trying to do my best to keep that moving, okay? To all those that are present today, they may have a chance to comment for the record. If your comments mirror those of someone who's already spoken, you can also indicate that you relinquish the podium to another speaker so that all views can be represented at the hearing and they may be heard. When everyone's had an opportunity to speak, I'll conclude the public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be prepared and reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comment. We are not here to answer questions. However, we will, in the course of this public hearing, consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions, and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I will now ask if there's anyone in attendance who wishes to comment on either the nature and location of the project facility or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agencies with respect to the proposed project. For the record, once again, please state your name, indicate your comments on either the proposed project or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. So at this time, I'll start with Joan Kelly.
I'm Joan Kelly. I live at 5 Grapeview Lane in Highland, New York. We all want more affordable housing. This project may increase the number of affordable housing units by 15. Similar projects we've been told in the past, as they've said, this requirement is not enforceable. But if you grant this pilot exemption, it will actually decrease the number of affordable housing units in this town. Affordable housing is defined as houses with total expenses, rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, and real estate taxes that are less than 30% of the owner's gross income. My property taxes alone are 52% of my gross Social Security income. God has blessed me with an IBM pension, but there's a lot of long-term residents in this town who don't have those resources. So if you give this project a 10-year exemption on property tax, the increased cost of town services which they generate will be paid by existing homeowners. This will push more and more existing homes into the unaffordable category. Why should lifelong residents struggle so rich developers can get richer?
Thank you. Next speaker, Cynthia Dill.
My name is Cynthia Dill, and I live at 4 River Road, Highland, New York. I'd like to read a quote from the proposed project agreement, bottom of page 1, in terms of a local property tax exemption. So I'm addressing the financial end of it. If, quote, if the agency determines to proceed with the project facility will be acquired, constructed, and installed by the agency and will be leased with an obligation to purchase or sold by the agency to the company and or its designee pursuant to a project agreement, the agreement, requiring that the company or its designee make certain payments to the agency, unquote. This means that if the IDA decides to sponsor this project, they actually acquire the property for the life of the proposed financing. The project is then owned by a tax-exempt agency, the IDA, and is under no obligation to pay municipal taxes. However, as part of this agreement, the IDA will require the company to make payments to the municipality in lieu of taxes, referred to as a pilot payment in lieu of taxes. The pilot is usually less than what the project would normally pay in taxes. That's sometimes justifiable for industrial projects on a per square foot of building space basis. They consume a lot fewer services than a similar square footage of residential space. And the industrial project brings jobs to the community over the course of the pilot agreement. So there are times when the community can come on ahead with a pilot agreement for an industrial project. But experts in New York State are increasingly concerned over the use of pilot projects for residential projects. This is largely due to the fact that residential projects produce no jobs or other community benefits over the life of the project. In fact, the pilot deprives the community of the full tax benefits of the residential development and leaves the community to absorb the increased costs associated with this residential development. Remember, the property taxes on a house are supposed to pay for the cost of municipal services to that house. If those property taxes are reduced below the actual rate, the rest of the community is making up for that shortfall in taxes. A recent Cornell study for, quote unquote, Reinvent Albany raised the question of whether using IDA benefits for housing development in effect uses tomorrow's tax dollars to pay for today's housing, leaving communities unable to meet the future costs of that housing unless they raise taxes on everyone else in the community. Finally, this may be a particularly egregious misuse of IDA financing because the financing is going to be used to pay the site preparation costs for privately owned single-family housing. Those costs are rightly the responsibility of the private property owner. Wouldn't it be nice if the IDA agreed to pay the costs of fixing the neighborhood problems here, like the 12-skill stream bank collapsing and protecting our Washington Street suspended sewer line, which services over 60 families? Nobody's helping with that. There appears to be very little direct public benefit from IDA involvement in this project, and this town does not have that much money. Finally, I would like to ask, why wouldn't a bank finance this instead of Ulster County? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Petty, you're on my sheet. Did you?
I said my piece.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to make sure, you know. Okay, let's see here. All right. Stephen Shunk? Am I saying that correct?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
thank you. My name is Steve Shunk, 40-some-year resident of Highland, town of Lloyd. I live on Bellevue on Highland. I'm here actually to simply object to this IDA proposal because primarily I think that many of the purported benefits done by the MRB group will not prove out, as Cynthia just mentioned. IDAs generally have not so good past history. And I wanted to point out again that I also agree that losing the tax revenue to this town could maybe even bankrupt the town. And last year, or as Cynthia mentioned, existing residents have to pay the increases for a private commercial developer. I think, to put it in a term, this is town bailout financing of a private developer. I don't think that local municipalities should be financing private developers. Last year, for example, our town general tax went up 6.3%. Our town highway tax went up 2.4%. Our fire district went up 4.2, and our light district went up 11.6. So my objection is government funding, private enterprise, and if, as Councilmember Mike said, they're going to build this project. The real question then is, why is IDA financing it? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker, Patty and Bill Ogden.
I really have nothing to add, but I agree with the ones that have already spoken.
Okay.
And my husband did.
Yeah, I'm one of the old planning board members, so I look at things a little differently. I've only been in this area, for 27 years. And for all of that time, that's been kind of a trash yard on 9W, paying essentially no taxes. So I think this is a good move forward. It would help me particularly if someone could describe exactly how this tax exemption works. What's being exempt for how long, and what's not being exempt for how long? Because I like to see some nice, useful stores go in there, but for what essentially will be a mall on the first floor, to good quality places, the prices have to be right. And if you start off with a huge tax because you can't even afford to do business there, then you end up with places we really don't want there. So that's why maybe a little bit of knowledge for everybody about exactly what's being exempt for how long and what's not being exempt for how long.
Okay.
Just some general comments.
Thank you. The next speaker, Sean Williams.
Hello, my name is Sean Williams. I live at 21 Tustin Avenue here in Highland. I'm a local architect. To save some time, I'm going to read a prepared statement. I want to start by saying that overall, while this is an okay housing project, it's a terrible commercial one. Thus, I would like to speak on the merit of granting a real estate tax abatement based on the mixed use occupancy of this project. I have backup information giving all my assumptions. I'm going to skip that to save time. I'll submit that into the record.
Thank you.
I'm going to start by saying that if this merits participation from the UCIDA on the grounds of wages paid, environmental concerns, construction choices, community investment, or affordable housing, I'm all for it. I don't have any objections with that. But if we're basing it on the jobs created, this is a problem. The tax policy matrix suggests that this application is highly dependent upon that. I don't actually know. I'm not the one who gets to tally that. I'm making my own assumptions. So in this case, I'd like to make a few comments about the commercial aspects of this project. Begin by speaking to the economic character of the site versus the project that has been proposed. This 4.5 acre site represents one of the largest commercial districts in the town of Highland. In the hamlet, it's the closest, most adjacent to the hamlet and the central business district. It also sits along one of the most heavily trafficked roadways in Ulster County. This makes it one of the most important lots in the town for economic growth and development. An entire zoning district was created largely for this lot, the Walkway Gateway Business District. I'll emphasize the word business district. In contrast to this prominence, the proposed project has minimized the commercial aspects it could in every possible way to get approved. 10,000 square feet of space may sound like a lot, but compared to 168,000 plus total build out, it's less than 6% of the total project. The quality of the units is also not particularly good. The access to the site is poor. It's not conducive to quick trips in and out because of the traffic on the road. It's even suggested to be one way, right in, right out, which is eliminating half your patrons to begin with. Parking is also not set up to be conducive to the businesses. It's all way in the back. It's hundreds of feet away from the commercial stores, hard to get to and park far away are the bad recipes for businesses. Let's see. In addition, planning board asked the company involved to put in grease traps in case food service wanted to go in there. They refused the request. On push on it by the planning board, they said, well, we simply won't allow food service then. It eliminates a huge chunk of the possible businesses that could go in there. Throughout this process, the design process, the company involved repeatedly said, if you want to know what we're about, go see One Duchess across the river. So I went over there and took a look. It's a pretty good housing development, but it's a terrible commercial lot. Of the 7 commercial units that are in there, 4 of them were empty when I was there last summer. That's 6 years after substantial completion. 4 of the 7 units were empty. Of the 3 units that were in, 2 of them were food service. So they've already said they're not going to do that. This would suggest from the track record that 1 out of 8 of the units will fill. Okay, I'll wrap it up.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
That's a 12% occupancy rate. So whatever numbers they're proposing for jobs proposed should probably be prorated accordingly. Let's see. I'm going to skip the next part. In conclusion, I would just suggest that the UCIDA's money would be better used to support projects that better support the local communities. I don't think this project should be rewarded for a design that takes away potential economic growth and further burdens the community infrastructure by pushing the density boundaries, that's the part I skipped, beyond their limits with loophole exploitations, especially when a reduction of the taxes owed to the community that will have to pick up the slack baked into this project. So I have more, but I'm going to cut it off there.
Can you submit that over to?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker, can't see the first name, Krimsky? Pam, right? Is it Pam? Okay, I see it over on your email.
I'll try to make it brief. First thing that I want to ask is, what percentage of the housing units are going to be affordable housing? Because that makes a difference to a lot of people. We don't need more housing that's not affordable. And we don't need,
10%.
Only 14 apartments out of 140.
Hmm?
14 apartments out of 140 will be the 100.
not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. And thank you. And I also just want to state that we really end up carrying the people that live in the community end up carrying the burden when the new businesses don't pay taxes. Okay, they don't pay taxes, they don't pay sales tax, buying tax, nothing. So we already are, have looked at property tax increases, and we're gonna see more of it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, and forgive me, I can't see the last name. Ryan? Ryan's the first name?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to start by acknowledging that the concerns being raised tonight are real. Questions about taxes, infrastructure, traffic, fairness deserve serious answers. Community skepticism isn't a problem, it's a safeguard. But I think it's important that we also step back and look at the bigger economic framework this town, this county, and the state are operating within. At the county and state level, the direction is clear. Growth, housing supply, economic expansion are not optional. They're necessary for long-term fiscal stability. This town is located directly on the opposite side of a main thoroughfare over a riverway. Municipalities do not maintain services, schools, infrastructure, or emergency response capacity by standing still. They do so by expanding their tax base over time, not shrinking it in the mechanisms that currently exist within real estate development, necessitate utilization, tax incentives, born through UCIDA, and the like, to actually bring these projects to fruition. When development is pushed away entirely, what actually happens is not preservation, it's displacement of opportunity. Investment goes to neighboring towns, counties, housing supply tightens, property values and rents rise faster. Younger residents leave, and the tax burden shifts more heavily onto existing homeowners. This is not a theoretical risk. It is something we've already seen across the Hudson Valley. Incentive tools like the pilot agreements exist because New York is a competitive environment. Capital is mobile. Developers, employers, and lenders have choices. If we make it impossible to build here, the outcome is not no impact. It's less housing, less investment, and fewer long-term revenue gains, while costs still continue to rise. That said, support for development does not mean blind approval. The question should not be whether development happens, but how it is structured, monitored, and enforced so the community sees real benefit. From a community standpoint, I believe the focus should be on clear year-by-year transparency of any pilot schedule, enforceable commitments on infrastructure contributions, accountability for promised jobs, wages, and commercial activity. And I highly second the points that were mentioned previously about the commercial activity. Long-term affordability, compliance, not just the minimum thresholds, and a clear picture of what full taxation looks like once incentives expire. The safeguards protect residents without pushing investment away. If we send a message that growth is unwelcome here under any circumstances, the result will not be stability, it will be stagnation, rising tax pressure on homeowners, and reduced economic resilience over time. Responsible development paired with strong oversight is ultimately how any municipality will build prosperity and security, not by opting out of growth, but by shaping it wisely with community input.
Thank you. The next speaker, Sal Cassidy.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak at an air microphone. I am looking at your project summary, which I looked up tonight just before I came here. You guys are, to us, you're opaque. You're not accountable. We don't really know what you're trying to do. We see that you are giving them a sales tax exemption, a mortgage recording tax exemption, which I think hurts our town, and then a pilot. I look at the first page of their project summary. It's a $56 million project, according to their numbers. And the jobs created are 7. I mean, it's pathetic. The number of, the amount of tax that they're gonna, the amount of sales that would be subject to taxes is listed here as to be determined. Estimated value of supplies, materials, or vendor services that are expected to be purchased from the Mid-Hudson Development Region to be determined. There seems to be no real rationale for this. And you're going to vote on this in February? And this information isn't even available to the public? It's not good. I object to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Brandon Galarenzo.
They're here.
I think they went in the
I
audience.
think he's in the other room. Okay.
So I don't know, I'm gonna stand to the side because I'm not speaking to the board, I'm also speaking to everyone in this room.
Actually, you have to
Okay.
address the board.
Apologies,
Yeah.
okay, well then.
This is the project.
I know. You know what? We'll make an exception. You can address the crowd. How's
Are you
that?
sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my comments are just general. So first of all, I want to thank the Ulster County IDA for hosting tonight. I actually really like public comment, which I think people think developers are really scared of it. I think it always makes a project better. There's a lot of innovative ideas that come out of it. And especially in the planning phase of this project, there was a lot of that as well. You know, we had multiple iterations of the project in hopes of, you know, finding something that fit both the goals of the municipality's zoning code and what the area needs, as well as what could, you know, be palatable to the neighboring community. I am not going to speak to the specifics of any of the comments tonight because I don't want to speak off the cuff. What I will do is I'm going to rewatch all of the comments and I'm going to write a memo specifically addressing every public comment that was received. Additionally, my email address is on the application. I am the developer. It's my family. So my inbox is open. If anyone wants to have direct dialogue, I will answer your email. Maybe not within 20 minutes, but within 24 hours, I try to get back to people. And I might not have the answer you want, but I will always tell you I'm going to go get the answer. It may not be the answer you want, but I will go get an answer. So just like out of respect for everyone here and the thoughtfulness that you all put into forming your comments, I'm going to put the same amount of thoughtfulness into responding to your comments. So you can expect a memo posted sometime. I'm going to send it to the IDA so the IDA can post it. I'm hoping by mid next week. And I hope that's acceptable to everyone, never understands, but I do appreciate you coming out and sharing your thoughts. Public engagement, honestly, has never made our project worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for hosting tonight and having us
Thank
here,
you.
and we'll continue to speak. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present that would like to speak? Sure, could you state your name?
Sure. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm a reporter for the Southern Ulster Times. I want to let the board know and put this in the record. I was at a planning board meeting when this project came before them, and the developer stated unequivocally they would not seek any tax break, any pilot programs. They made that public, and now here we are today. I just want to make that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Period.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'm sorry she left. I'm curious, is her company the same company that is building the developments on Route 32 in New Paltz? Because the design seems to be very much the same. And if it is, did you give them a pilot? That's my question.
Can I have your name, please?
Oh, Susan Gilmore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Just state your name for the record.
Sure. Councilmember Lacey Maffei. I should have spoken earlier. But
That's okay.
Sort of trying to formulate and think about what exactly I wanted to say. You know, someone earlier brought up the concept of our taxes increasing every year to try to cover things. And I can tell you firsthand that it is not covering everything. Our taxes are significantly would need to go up in order to actually cover the needs of our growing infrastructure needs, as well as its aging. You know, our water and sewer is in desperate need of help, and every single day we're scrambling, trying to talk about getting grants in order to not have basically no water at all. We're having to make hard choices about, you know, if we're going to do this to maybe put a Band-Aid on it because we can't afford this. I mean, these are real serious issues. As someone mentioned, we've had 5 water main breaks. We had one in which they had to turn off the water for the entire town over the holiday between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
In freezing weather. You know, the majority of the burden of this tax abatement comes onto the town. It looks like it's about $1 million plus the, you know, mortgage tax recording exemption. The rest is from property taxes. And, you know, as Mark mentioned, they told us we were going to get something from this project. The whole project was sold to us that it was going to support our town. It was going to add users onto the system, yes, onto our water system, but it was going to give back all these property taxes. And so we were going to be able to, get a benefit to this very, very large project, which is going to increase our traffic. A lot of the choices the developer continues to make are not to the benefit of the town. They're not adding grease traps. They're telling us, you know what, we can't get a safe place for people to come in and out. We just won't have enough apartments to have kids in, which is also not reasonable. So, I would like to see if this has to go forward, which I don't believe that it should. Where is the accountability on promises that the developer is making and the promises that the IDA is making in order to say this pilot is justified? How are we guaranteeing that the affordable housing is there? How are we guaranteeing that developer continues to support the community and these jobs actually exist? I read that there was going to be another seeker done by the county before this pilot. Is that accurate? Or is it just the planning board's?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay, that was somewhere online. I would just want I know that this is it, and then you guys are gonna vote, and this is our one sort of shot to communicate our deep concerns about losing this tax revenue. We cannot afford to lose it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question. Was that Lauren O'Neill? Was that the lady who spoke?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
said-
yeah,
Okay,
that
'cause
one.
I just didn't hear her name. I need to make sure I have the correct
Yeah.
email. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, so if there is no more further comments, I will now close this public hearing. It is 6:20 p.m. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.